Hey guys, it's me, Lisa ASMR. I'm going to be reading a book. It's almost midnight, and I work 12 hours tomorrow. And then after work, I'm going to a state above me to check a place out with my friend and her newly wed husband and everything, so it's gonna be cool. Then I'm coming back down Tuesday night, and then after work Wednesday for 9 hours. So yeah. And then my sister's birthday is Friday, so I'll be celebrating it through the weekend because I work over 12 hours Friday, 10 hours Saturday, and all that bad stuff because I wanted to be off, but my customers aren't coming in on a different day. They told me they'd only come in Friday. So it's kind of irritating because it's just like I'm trying to do something really nice for my sister and I want to do it on her birthday because a lot of people disappointed her, but I guess I'm going to be one of those people now. But I'll make up for it hopefully on Saturday night and Sunday. But anyways, I'm going to read to you My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry by Frederick Backman. I'm not reading from the beginning because I already started this book and I'm on page 50. So just bear with me. Oi. And since I work 12 hours tomorrow and I'm driving upstate, I am not going to, this might not be a long video. I do apologize in advance. Where was I? Oh, yeah. Elsa, who's the granddaughter, jumps off the bench and starts trapezing around in the snow to warm up her feet. She's outside the hospital because her grandma just died and she's waiting on her mom to get the news from the doctor. Next to the big window where the whale woman is working, there's a supermarket with a sign outside. Mince beef, $49.90. Elsa tries to control herself because her mom is always telling her not to control herself. But in the end, she takes her red felt-tip pen from her jacket pocket and adds a neat D and a slash to show that it should be 2 words. She looks at the result and nods slightly, then puts the pen back in her pocket and sits down again on the bench, leans her head back and then closes her eyes and feels the cold little feet of the snowflakes landing on her face. I'm so sorry, but that just reminded me. Saturn is right below the moon right now, and if you stare at it for a while, you actually will see the rings around Saturn with the naked eye. And if you have a telescope, I suggest getting your telescope out. So I'm probably going to upload this tonight when I'm sleeping, just so y'all can look at Saturn. You're welcome. When the smell of the smoke reaches her nostrils, she thinks she's imagining it. At first, it's even wonderful to think that acrid smell, sorry if that was wrong, at the back of her throat, and though Elsa can't think why, it makes her feel warm and secure. But then she feels something else, something thumping behind her ribs like a warning signal. The man is standing a distance away. In the shadow of one of the high-rise apartment buildings, she can't see him clearly, only pick out the red glow of his cigarette between his fingers and the fact that he's very thin, as if he's lacking in contours. He stands partially turned away from her as if he hasn't even seen her. And Elsa doesn't know why she gets so scared, but she finds herself fumbling around the bench for a weapon. It's very odd. She never does that in the real world. In the real world, her first instinct is always to run. Only in Myanmar's, that's the imaginary place that her and her grandma made up together, would she reach for her sword, as a knight does when sensing danger, but there are no swords here. When she looks up again, The man is still turned away from her, but she could swear that he's moved closer, and he's still in the shade, although he's moved away from the high rise, as if the shadow isn't cast by the house, but by the man himself. Elsa blinks, and when she opens her eyes, she no longer thinks the man has moved closer. She knows he has. She slips off the bench and reverses towards the big window, fumbling for the door handle, stumbles inside, stands there panting, gasping, trying to calm down. Only when the door closes behind her with a little friendly pling does she understand what she found reassuring about the cigarette smoke. The man smokes the same tobacco as Granny. Elsa would recognize it anywhere, because Granny used to let her help out with the cigarette rolling, because Granny says that Elsa has such small fingers that they're perfect for these little sods. When she looks out the window, she no longer knows where the shadows begin and end. One moment she imagines the man is still standing there on the other side of the street, but then she starts wondering if she actually saw him at all. She jumps like a startled animal when Mum's hands alight on her shoulders. She spins around with wide-open eyes before her legs give way. Tiredness disarms all her senses when she's in her mother's arms. She has not slept for 2 days. Mum's distended belly is big enough to rest a teacup on. George says it's nature's way of giving a pregnant woman a break. "Let's go home," Mum whispers softly in her ear. Elsa stares, forcing her tiredness away and sliding out of her mother's grip. "First, I want to talk to Granny." Mum looks devastated. Elsa knows that's because devastated is a word for the word jar. We'll get to the word jar later in this story. It's, "Darling, I don't know if it's a good idea," whispers Mum. But Elsa has already run past the reception desk and into the next room. She can hear the whalewoman yelling behind her, but then she hears her mother's composed voice asking her to let Elsa go inside. Granny is waiting for her in the middle of the room. There's a fragrance of lilies, Mum's favorite flower. Granny doesn't have any favorite flowers because no plant lives for longer than 24 hours in Granny's flat. And in a fairly rare instance of compliance, possibly also because of the enthusiastic encouragement of her favorite grandchild, Granny has decided to be bloody unfair to nature for her to have any favorite flowers. Elsa stands to one side, with her hands pushed moodily into her jacket pockets. Defiantly, she stamps snow from her shoes onto the floor. "I don't want to be a part of this treasure hunt. It's idiotic." Granny doesn't answer. She never answers when she knows that Elsa's right. Elsa stamps more snow off her shoes. "You are idiotic," she said, cuttingly. Granny doesn't rise to that one either. Elsa sits on the chair next to her and holds out the letter. "You can take care of this idiotic letter yourself," she whispers. Her grandma gave her a letter to give to a man, and she said that the man wouldn't want to take it, but to tell the man who it's from. 2 days have gone by since our friend started howling. 2 days since Elsa was last in the land of almost awake in the kingdom of Miyamaz. No one is being straight with her. All the grown-ups try to wrap it in cotton wool so it doesn't sound dangerous or frightening or unpleasant, as if Granny hasn't been ill, as if the whole thing was an accident, but Elsa knows they're lying because Elsa's Granny hasn't ever been laid low by an accident. Usually, it's the accident that gets laid low by Granny. And Elsa knows what cancer is. It says it all about it on the Wikipedia. She gives the edge of the coffin a shove to get a reaction because deep down she's still hoping this could be one of those occasions when Granny is just pulling her leg. Like that, Granny dressed the snowman so he looked like a real person who'd fallen from the balcony, and Britt Marie got so furious when she realized it was a joke that she called the police. And the next morning when Britt Marie looked out the window, she discovered that Granny had made another identical snowman, and then Britt Marie went loopy, as Granny put it, and came charging out with a snow shovel. And then the snowman jumped up and roared, "Wah!" Granny told her afterwards that she laid in the snow for hours waiting for Britt Marie, and at least 2 cats had weed on her in the meantime, but it was well worth it. Britt Marie called the police again, of course, but they said it wasn't a crime to scare someone. This time, though, Granny doesn't get up. Elsa bangs her fists against the coffin, but Granny doesn't answer, and Elsa bangs harder and harder as if it's possible to put right all the things that are wrong by banging. In the end, she slips off the chair and sinks onto her knees on the floor and whispers, "Do you know that they're lying? They say you've passed away, or that we've lost you. No one says dead." Elsa digs her nails into her palms and her whole body trembles. "I don't know how to get to Mia Ma's if you're dead." Granny doesn't answer. Elsa puts her forehead against the lower edge of the coffin. She feels the cold wood against her skin and warm tears on her lips. Then she feels Mom's soft fingers against her neck. She turns around and throws her arms around her, and Mom carries her out of there. When she opens her eyes again, she's sitting in Kia, Mom's car. Mom is standing outside in the snow talking to George on the telephone. Elsa knows she doesn't want her to hear them talking about the funeral. She's not an idiot. She's still got Granny's letter in her hand. She knows you're not supposed to read other people's letters, but she must have read this one 100 times these past 2 days. Granny must have known she'd do this because she's written the entire letter in symbols that Elsa can't understand, using the strange alphabet she saw on the road signs and Granny's photographs. Elsa glares at it. Granny always said she and Elsa shouldn't have any secrets from each other, only secrets together. She's furious with Granny for the lie because now Elsa sits here with the greatest secret of them all, and she can't understand a crapping thing. And she knows that if she falls out with Granny at this point, it will set a personal record that they can never beat. The ink smudges over the paper when she blinks down at it. Although there are letters that Elsa doesn't know, Granny has probably misspelled things. When Granny writes, it's as if she is just scattering words over the page while she's already mentally on her own way somewhere else. It's not that Granny can't spell, it's just that she thinks so fast that the letters and words can't keep up. And unlike Elsa, Granny can't see the point of spelling things out correctly. Anyways, she was always better at science and numbers. "You bloody understand what I mean?" she hisses when she passes Elsa secret notes while they are eating with Mom and George, and Elsa adds the dashes and spaces in the right places with her red felt tip pen. It's one of these things they really row about, Granny and Elsa, because Elsa thinks letters are something more than just a way of sending messages, something more important, or used to. They used to row about it. There's only one word in the whole letter that Elsa can read, just one, which has been written in normal letters, tossed down almost haphazardly in the middle of the text. It's so anonymous that Elsa didn't notice it the first time she read it. She reads it again and again until she can't see it through all her blinking. She feels let down and angry for tens of thousands of reasons, and probably another tens of thousands of she hasn't even thought of yet. Because she knows it's not a coincidence. Granny put that word right there so Elsa would see it. The name on the envelope is the same name as the one on the monster's mailbox. And the only word Elsa can read in the letter is Mia Ma's. Granny has always loved treasure hunts. Chapter 6. Cleaning Agents. She has 3 scratch marks on her cheek, as if from claws. She knows they'll want to know how it all began. Elsa ran is the short answer. She's good at running. That's what happens when you get chased all the time. This morning she lied to Mom about starting school an hour earlier than usual. And when Mom pulled her up on it, Elsa played the bad mother card. The bad mother card is like Renault. Hardly a beauty, but surprisingly effective. "I've told you like 100 times I start earlier on Mondays. I even gave you a slip, but you never listened to me anymore." Mom mumbled something about a pregnant airhead and looked guilty. The easiest way of getting her off balance is if you can manage to convince her she's lost control. There used to be just 2 people in the world who knew how to make Mom lose control, and now there's only one. That's a lot of power to put into the hands of someone who's not even 8 yet. At lunchtime, Elsa took the bus home, because she figured she had a better chance of dodging Bert Marie during the day. She stopped and bought 4 bags of Dame in the supermarket. Don't know what DAIM, that's why I'm calling it Dame, is. So if you know, please let me know, because I'm curious now. The house was as dark and silent as only Granny's house could be without the presence of Granny, and it felt as if even the house were missing her. Elsa hid carefully from Britt Marie, who was on her way to the space where trash bins are kept, although she didn't even have any bags of separated rubbish. After Britt Marie had checked the contents of all the bins and pursed her mouth the way she does when she decides to raise some issue at the next residents' meeting, she set off down the street to the supermarket so she could walk about and purse her mouth in there for a while. Elsa sneaked in and went up the stairs to the mezzanine floor. There she stood, shaking with fear and anger, outside the flat, still with the letter in her hand. Her anger was reserved for Granny. Her fear was for the monster. Not long after, she was running through the playground so fast she thought her feet were on fire, and now she sits in the small room with luminous red marks on her cheek as if from claws, waiting for Mum and fully aware that she'll demand to know what's happened. She spins the globe at one end of the desk. The headmaster looks particularly vexed when she does it, so she keeps doing it. "Well," the headmaster asks, pointing at her cheek, "are you ready to tell me what happened?" She doesn't even grace him with an answer. Oh, whoops, it's my It was smart of Granny, Elsa had to admit. She's still insanely irritated about this stupid treasure hunt, but it was smart of Granny to write Mia Maz and normal characters in the letter. Because Elsa had stood there earlier on the landing, summoning her courage for at least 100 eternities before she rang the doorbell. If Granny hadn't known that Elsa would read the letter, even though one mustn't read other people's letters, and if she hadn't written Mia Maz and normal characters, Elsa would just have thrown the envelope in the monster's mail slot and run away. Instead, she stood there ringing the doorbell because she had to press the monster for some answers. Because Mia Maz belongs to Granny and Elsa, it's only theirs. Elsa's fury at the thought of Granny bringing along some random Muppet was much bigger than any fear she might have of monsters. Okay, not much bigger than her monster fear, but big enough. Our friend was still howling in the flat next door, but nothing happened when she rang the monster's door. She rang again and banged on the door until the wood was creaking, and then peered inside through the mail slot, but it was too dark to see anything. Not a movement, not a breath. All she could feel was an acrid smell of cleaning agents. The sort of smell that rushes up your nasal membranes and starts kicking the back of your eyeballs when you breathe it in. But no sign of a monster, not even a little one. Elsa took off her backpack and got out the 4 bags of Dame and emptied them through our friend's mail slot. For a few brief moments, the creature stopped howling in there. Elsa has decided to call it the creature until she has figured out what it really is. Because irrespective of what Britt Marie says, Elsa is pretty damn sure that there is no mere dog. This is no mere dog. "You have to stop howling. Britt Marie will call the police and they'll come here and kill you," she whispered through the slot. She didn't know if the creature understood, but at least it was being quiet and eating its Dame, as any rational creature does when offered Dame. "If you see the monster, tell him I have mail for him," said Elsa. The creature didn't answer, but Elsa felt its warm breath when it sniffed at the door. "Tell him my granny sends her regards and apologizes," she whispers. And then she put the letter in her backpack and took the bus back to school. And when she looked out of the bus window, she thought she saw him again. The thin man who had been standing outside the undertaker's yesterday, while Mom was talking to the whale woman. Now he was in the shadows on the other side of the street. She couldn't see his face behind the cigarette smoke, but a cold instinctual terror wrapped itself around her ribs, and then he was gone. Elsa reckons this may have been why she couldn't make herself invisible when she got to school. Invisibility is the sort of superpower you can train yourself to have, and Elsa practices it all the time. But it doesn't work if you are angry or frightened. When she got to go to school, Elsa was both. Afraid of men turning up in the shadows without her knowing why, and angry at Granny for sending a letter to a monster. And both angry at and afraid of monsters. Normal monsters have the decency to live deep inside black caves or at the bottoms of ice-cold lakes. Normal, terrifying monsters don't actually live in flats and get their mail delivered. And anyway, Elsa hates Monday. School is always at its worst on Monday mornings because people who like chasing you have had to hang about all weekend with no one to chase. The notes in her locker are always the worst on Mondays, which could also be why the invisibility thing is not working. Elsa starts fidgeting with the headmaster's globe again. Then she hears the door opening behind her and the headmaster stands up, looking relieved. Hello, sorry I'm so late. It's the traffic. Elsa's mom pants out of breath, and Elsa feels her fingers brushing her neck. Elsa doesn't turn around. She also feels Mom's telephone brushing against her neck because Mom always carries it as if she were a cyborg and it was part of her organic tissue. Wait. Elsa fingers the globe a little more demonstratively. The headmaster sits down in his chair, then leans forward and discreetly tries to move the globe out of her reach. He turns hopefully to Mom. Shall we wait for Elsa's father, perhaps? The headmaster prefers Dad to be present at these types of meetings, because he seems to find Dads easier to reason with when it comes to this sort of thing. Mom doesn't look especially pleased. Elsa's father is away, and unfortunately he won't be back until tomorrow. The headmaster looks disappointed. Sorry. Getting easily distracted. Of course there's no intention on our part to create a sense of panic here, especially not in your condition. He nods at Mom's belly. Mom looks like she needs to control herself quite a lot not to ask exactly what he's driving at. The headmaster clears his throat and pulls the globe even further from Elsa's reaching fingers. He looks as if he's going to impress on Mom that she should think of the child, which is what people try to impress on Mom when they're nervous that she may get angry. Think about the child. They used to mean Elsa when they said that, but now they mean Haffy. Call it Haffy because it's not born yet, I think, and it's going to be a half sister or brother or whatever. Elsa straightens her leg and kicks the waste paper basket. She can hear the... Goodness gracious. Can't breathe. I think I hear some more. Oh, this feels so good. Oh, I'm gonna sleep well tonight. Well, I'm gonna sleep well in the short amount of hours that I sleep. Where was I? She can hear the headmaster and Mom talking, but she doesn't listen. Deep inside, she's hoping Granny will come storming in at any moment with her fists raised like a boxing match in an old film. The last time Elsa was called in to see the headmaster, he only called Mom and Dad. But Granny came along all the same. Granny was not the sort of person he had to call. Elsa had stood there spinning the headmaster's globe on that occasion too. The boy who'd given her a black eye had been there with his parents. The headmaster had turned to Elsa's father and said, "There's an element of a typical boyish prank about this." And then he had to devote quite a long time to explaining to Granny what a typical girlish prank might be, because Granny really wanted to know. I want to know too. What makes it a girlish prank? What makes it a boyish prank? And why is punching someone and giving them a black eye a prank? The headmaster had tried to calm Granny by telling the boy who'd given Elsa the black eye that only cowards hit girls. But Granny was not the least bit calmed by that. "It's not bloody cowardly to hit girls," she had roared at the headmaster. "This kid is a little asswipe for hitting a girl. He's an asswipe for hitting anyone." And then the boy's father got upset and started being rude to Granny for calling his son an asswipe. And then Granny had replied that she was going to teach Elsa how to kick boys in the fuse box. And then they see how much bloody fun it is fighting with girls. And then the headmaster had asked everyone to compose themselves a little. And then they all tried that for a bit. But then the headmaster wanted the boy and Elsa to shake hands and apologize to each other. And then Granny sprang out of her chair asking, "Why the hell should Elsa apologize?" The headmaster said that Elsa must take her share of the guilt because she had provoked the boy, and one had to understand that the boy had experienced difficulties in controlling himself. And that was when Granny had tried to throw the globe at the headmaster, but Mom managed to catch hold of Granny's arm at the very last moment, so the globe ended up hitting the headmaster's computer instead and smashing the screen. I was provoked, Granny had roared at the headmaster while Mom tried to drag her into the corridor. I couldn't control myself. I need a Granny like that. She badass. That's why Elsa always tears up the notes she gets in her locker. The notes about how she is ugly, that she's disgusting, that they're going to kill her. Elsa rips them into such tiny pieces that they can hardly be seen, and then throws them into different waste paper bins all over the school. It's an act of mercy to those who wrote the notes, because Granny would have beaten them to death if she found out. Poor Elsa. It always sucks to get picked on. Feel your pain, girl. Feel your pain. As I'm sure everyone does to a certain extent. Elsa rises slightly from the chair and quickly reaches across the desk to give the globe another spin. The headmaster looks close to despair. Elsa sinks back into her chair, satisfied. My God, Elsa, what happened to your cheek? Mom bursts out with exclamation marks at the end when she sees the 3 red lacerations. Elsa shrugs without answering. Mom turns to the headmaster as her eyes are burning. What happened to her cheek? The headmaster twists in his seat. Now then, let's calm ourselves down now. Think about your child. He isn't pointing at Elsa when he says this last bit. He's pointing at Mom. Elsa stretches her leg and kicks the waste paper bin again. Mom takes a deep breath and closes her eyes, then determinedly moves the wastebasket farther under the desk. Elsa looks at her, offended, sinks so deep into the chair that she has to hold onto the armrest to stop herself from sliding out, and reaches out with her leg until her toe almost touches the rim of the wastebasket. Mom sighs. Elsa sighs even louder. The headmaster looks at them and then at the globe on his desk. He pulls it closer to him. So, he begins at last, smiling half-heartedly at Mom. It's been a difficult week for the whole family. Mom interrupts him at once and sounds as if she's trying to apologize. Elsa hates it. We can all empathize with that, says the headmaster in the manner of someone who doesn't know the meaning of the word. He looks nervously at the globe. Unfortunately, it's not the first time Elsa has found herself in conflict at the school. Not the last either, Elsa mutters. Elsa! Snaps Mom. Mom! Elsa roars with 3 exclamation marks. Mom sighs. Elsa sighs even louder. The headmaster clears his throat and holds the globe with both hands as he says, We, and by that I mean the staff at the school, obviously in collaboration with the guidance counselor, feel that Elsa could be helped by a psychologist to channel her aggressions. A psychologist, says Mom hesitantly. Surely that's a bit dramatic. The headmaster raises his hand defensively as if apologizing, or possibly as if he's about to start playing an air tambourine. It's not that we don't think anything is wrong. Absolutely not. Lots of special needs children benefit from therapy. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Elsa reaches out with the tips of her toes and pushes over the waste paper basket. Why don't you go to a psychologist yourself? The headmaster decides to make the globe safe by putting it on the floor next to his chair. Mom leans towards Elsa and exerts herself incredibly not to raise her voice. If you tell me and the headmaster which of the children are causing you trouble, we can help you solve the conflicts instead of things always ending up like this, darling. Elsa looks up, her lips pressed into a straight line. The scratch marks on her cheeks have stopped bleeding, but they are still bright as neon lights. Snitches get stitches, she says succinctly. Elsa, please try to cooperate, the headmaster says, attempting a grimace that Elsa assumes to be his way of smiling a little. You be cooperative, Elsa replies without an attempt to smile even a little. The headmaster looks at Mom. The school staff and I believe that if Elsa could just try to walk away sometimes when she feels there's a conflict about to happen. Also doesn't wait for Mom's answer because she knows Mom won't defend